Well, I don't know where to start with this one. It was a crazy game for the first game of this 5 game set, which I imagine is still going to go 5 games. I feel like I've lost a lot of my life. But welcome back to another episode of the Bleed Los podcast, a post game live episode as we recap the thrilling Game 1 win over the San Diego Padres. But before we get into all the talking points and before I want to hear from Steve and Mike on this post game, let's get the ad, let's get the paid sponsor out of the way first. So, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. When the game's over, head on to our online casino and get in on the action of our blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head over to the website, get in on the action, bet online. The game starts here. And boy, oh boy, I don't know where you guys want to start first. I think the most logical option before we get into the awesome home run by Shohei Otani is to go over the guy we talked about the most in the pregame, and that was Yamamoto. So, Mike, I'll kind of shoot your way first. Not a good start for Yamamoto. Only able to go 3 innings, gives up those 5 runs, but the Dodgers are still able to prevail. I know you have a couple, theories or opinions about why he just hasn't looked good, or especially in this start. But what were your overall impressions of Yamamoto, who made his postseason debut today?
Overall impression wasn't good at all. A little surprised about that. All the games that I've watched him pitch in over in Japan, he just didn't look the same. He doesn't look like the same pitcher. He didn't come out with that same intensity that he has shown when he was overseas. His command was off. His fastball wasn't there. His splitter was doing pretty good, and there were but the Padres just weren't chasing it. He doesn't look like the same pitcher that I'm used to seeing. Um, Part of me thinks that he's still hurt. I don't think he's pitching at 100% right now. If you want my honest opinion about it, but no, he wasn't good at all. He didn't have anything really going. His splitter was okay. His cutter was decent. You know he just he was just not good tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else to say. He just wasn't good. He wasn't the pitcher the Dodgers signed him to be, and I will give you credit that he is more than likely not playing at 100%. Nobody is at this point in the season, especially when you've already had a significant injury with your shoulder. We Props to him for even giving it a shot. The Dodgers are still going to need him to pitch. More than likely is not pitching another game in this series unless it's, I guess, a do or die game in Game 5. But if they're going to go with that, 6 day in between starts, the next time we'll probably see him is if the Dodgers are moving on to the NLCS. So hopefully he can rebound there if the Dodgers do advance, where they're already up 1-0 over the Padres. But before we change gears, moving away from Yamamoto, Steve, what did you think? You got the post game report out. What were your thoughts on Yamamoto's performance
Yeah,
today?
the recap is up on DodgersBeat.com, so you can check that out. It's also been shared on social media, so you'll see it there. That was a barn burner, boy, for sure. I I mean, obviously, we have to say we were basically wrong about Yamamoto tonight. We thought he was going to come up with 6 innings and 2 runs, and he went 3 and 5. So that was that it was a little surprising, to be honest, because we had heard that he's got a slow heartbeat and he's a big game pitcher and he was ready for his close up, but it just didn't happen for him tonight. And I mean, luckily his countryman Shohei pulled him out of the fire, because I so felt, and I'm glad that I was wrong, because when we went down 3-0, it was like, oh boy, now the Dodgers are just going to lay down and die like they always do. and man, that was a good comeback. They came back and tied it. They fell behind again, and they came back again. And so that was impressive. I haven't seen that kind of fight out of the Dodgers since that Cody Bellinger game against Atlanta in 2022, I guess that was, or no, that was 21. Yeah, that was probably the best Dodger game, best comeback we've seen since that game. And it was probably because we won one game against San Diego last year, not last year, the last time we played, and it was okay. It was kind of a pretty easy win. It was like we scored 8 runs in the first inning or something like that back in 22, and then we just didn't play well for the rest of the series. This was a hard fought game, and I guess maybe we could see a little of the battle tested Dodgers that we've been talking about. How the Padres pushing them forced them to get a little tough. And this was a nice gritty win because they could have laid down a couple of times and they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest takeaway from this entire game is that when they were down 3-0 early, I mean, what did we all say, before the game started? We said that the Dodgers had to score first. They had to set the tone. They had to keep the crowd into it. Credit to the fans that were there not getting out of the game. Obviously, that first inning, you're hearing some groans. It's a little bit more quiet. But the fact Dylan Cease wasn't able to command any of his off-speed pitches, the only thing he seemed like he could put into the zone was a fastball. Dodgers made the adjustment. They started laying off, being less aggressive, and just hunting for that fastball. And like I said, credit to the crowd for staying into the game, especially after the Otani home run. But just good at bats all around. The bottom of the lineup did their job. Yamamoto, obviously, we wish we would have gotten more out of him, but the bullpen did their job. They did what we expected them to do, where we think that the Dodgers, we can't think of it as a starting rotation. We have to just think of it as the pitching staff. Do we have a deep enough pitching staff?
Yes.
So they did their job today. They, in my opinion, they passed the first test, which is not only to show grit, a comeback win, getting over the hump of a team that, pretty much I would say dominated you all regular season. But down the stretch, you took 2 out of 3 in the regular season to close it out to win the division. And you take the first game of this postseason match, which I think is going to take a lot of momentum to the Dodgers' way because I don't think they played to their best potential. I mean, Mookie Betts is the guy we said, yeah, this guy has to wake up. He got on base a couple times, but he didn't come through with that big hit. Max Muncy kind of looked all over the place. He went 0 for today. Will Smith, he got walked. He didn't have a hit. There's a lot of guys that went hitless, but they still impacted the game in different ways. So let's just get into it. Dodgers are down 3-0. Shohei Otani comes on with 2 runners on. Pretty much gets the same pitch on the video I posted on my social media yesterday.
Take that, social media people.
From Dylan Cease, a high fastball.
It was a second at bat, but nevertheless.
Yes. Second at bat, I'll still take credit for it because it was eerily similar. Mike, what was your thought process with that home run? I feel like we can just never doubt Shohei Otani. It just seems like he always comes through in the moment.
Oh, definitely on that. He definitely comes through in the moment. Is a game changer, can turn the game around with just one swing of the bat or steal of the base. It's once in a lifetime player that we're going to see, probably the best baseball player, in baseball history. All the things that everybody's been saying, and truthfully that I haven't really bought into, until and probably just recently, I how do I say it? I like the guy. I thought he was going to be a good addition to the game, but I just wasn't buying the hype, I guess, in the very beginning. With the way that he would strike out a lot, the way it just, I just wasn't seeing it. And I'm so glad we have him on our team because he has put together a really good season. He's the spark that this team needs because, Mookie we haven't seen it from Mookie and Freddie in October, the ones that are supposed to be leading the team. So watching him hit that ball with 2 runners on and it goes over the fence and he just throws that bat, and getting the team fired up, like we were texting in our group chat there, he's putting the team on his back in the postseason, how Otani goes is how the Dodgers are going to go.
Yeah, I think in short, it's just he wants it. He wants the
Yep.
moment. He wants the hit. Steve, I think we've alluded to this where I think he may be the X factor of a player that the Dodgers have been missing the past couple years. And I know it's cliche to say, the $700 million man. Hopefully he shows up in October, but I mean, we're only getting the hitter version of him this year, and he's been just so clutch, especially in the second half of the season, especially in September. I mean, coming into this game, I think Joe Davis said that he mentioned that stretch where he was like 12 for 13 with his last, or 12 for 14 with his last runners in scoring position. Is Otani the X factor for this series and for the Dodgers in October?
Well, I think you have to lean that way after tonight. I mean, I think that everybody, and just to get back to pitching a second, I think everybody is really overselling the Padres bullpen and underselling the Dodgers bullpen because I mean the Dodgers bullpen outpitched the Padres bullpen. It's just that simple tonight. And because what Morejon gave up those runs, and then they got another run off of who did they get the other run off of? That guy, the other Latino guy,
Estrada. They got to run off Estrada. Yes.
They got to run off Estrada. So the Dodgers bullpen outpitched the Padres' vaunted bullpen tonight, and this is what I was saying would happen from get-go, right? That the Dodgers were going to have the Padres bullpen's number because the Dodgers bullpen is just, I think they're about to hit their perfect stride. They have, I mean, look at Ryan Brazier, who didn't do much. Evan Phillips, who didn't do much this year. They both stepped up, and love to Blake Trinan for pulling Michael Kopech's cookies out of the fire there. Boy, I mean, Kopech was all over the place tonight, and I'm sure that was like first time nerves and stuff like that. And I think he'll settle down. I'm not worried about him at all. But tonight he needed assistance, and Trinan, it got a little dicey there in the ninth. But I mean, Trinan was on. What I think they said it was his most pitches in the last 5 years he's thrown. It was way over 30 pitches, and so I think that's going to be an X factor going forward as well. Otani and bullpen. That's where you're going to see the big difference in this series.
Yeah, I you look at the bullpen today for the Dodgers. Yamamoto goes those 3 innings, allows 5 runs. I mean, at least he stopped the damage to keep it there. Especially after he gave up the 3 runs, he had a 1-2-3 inning. Give the Dodgers whatever length that he could give them, despite the the bad start. Six scoreless innings for this Dodgers bullpen. It wasn't pretty at the end. The command kind of got a little all over the place. Trinan had 2 walks. Kopech just seemed to have no command whatsoever. And I think a lot of that was more just adrenaline on his side. So we'll see what he does tomorrow if he does pitch in game 2. I imagine Blake Trinan's probably done until the Dodgers go to Petco.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I think it's the Dodgers are just, this is the formula to win. If you're the Dodgers, you have to score runs, which is a given. That's how you win ball games. You score more than your opponent. But for the pitching side, if the days that it's not Jack Flaherty, you're just hoping the bullpen, they know the job ahead. They know they're going to be pitching multiple innings. I think it was crucial to see Ryan Brazier go 1 2/3 inning. Evan Phillips to go an inning and a third. You're going to be seeing that a lot
as well.
Yeah, and then we haven't even gotten to the part where, we mentioned Michael Groves on this roster for a reason. If, say, the Dodgers see a situation where they can, eat maybe 2-3 innings out of the bullpen, they've done that in the regular season. It hasn't really worked out too well. We'll see if they try it in the postseason. But if these games are too close,
Right.
I imagine they stay away from him.
Right. Well, I think you could see a Grove tomorrow if you got a nice little lead. If it was like a 4-run lead or something like that, I could see trying to sneak Grove in there for an inning or two.
Yeah, and Los Dodgers World Series chance put in the chat. We did burn through a lot of arms today, and it's kind of like who's gonna be available tomorrow. Well, that's when you hope for Jack Flaherty. I think this is why we kind of all understood why Yamamoto going game one, and then if you wanted Flaherty to go game two, say if Yamamoto didn't have his best stuff, which he didn't today, the bullpen had to be used. Basically, you had a bullpen game for all intents and purposes. Today was a bullpen game. You
Well,
hope Flaherty can go a little bit longer. We'll see what happens in terms of arms that are available tomorrow, but what arms do you think they can use tomorrow, Mike? Because there was a couple that weren't used. Banda, Grove. Are you anticipating Jack Flaherty is going to have the pressure of trying to go at least 5, 6 innings tomorrow?
oh, definitely on that. Yeah, I think Flaherty's going to have to go at least 6 innings, minimum, for this. Uh, I could see, Bonda coming in, Daniel Hudson coming in, Grove coming in. Henrique is probably, get his first, taste of the postseason tomorrow. I won't be surprised if Kopech comes back out. He only threw 22 pitches, for this game. But just the Los Dodgers World Series champs. Also, you need to remember that the Padres burned through a lot of their arms. Also, this game. And one thing that we need to remember also is Dylan Cease didn't have a really good game either. So both starting pitchers struggled pretty heavily, and both teams burned through a lot of arms tonight. Trying to get that game one win. So tomorrow's going to be a key game.
Yeah, and Steve, I mentioned Cease already. What did you see from Dylan Cease? Because I thought early on, it seemed like he just didn't have it at all. It seemed like he was at least able to keep the ball in the yard for the most part, besides the Otani bomb. But it just seemed like he had no command whatsoever. Like, what did you see from Dylan Cease today? Because
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
even before the game, I knew he wasn't going to have a
it
good
was
start.
his poorest start in the last month. I think it just wasn't good at all. So maybe it was postseason pressure getting to both of them. Yeah, I was I don't say I was surprised that Dylan Cease got hit around a little bit because the Dodgers did, get 3 runs off of him a couple of weeks ago, right? So, we have a precedent for getting to Dylan Cease, and we know what Shohei can do, as you have posted. But Dylan Cease just didn't have any command. It was just how many pitches did he throw in that 3 1/3 innings? He was like up to 80 or something like that when they finally took him out, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
it
it was
was.
pretty high.
So he was
Through 82 pitches.
82 pitches. Yeah, I mean that should be like a 6 inning start, and he went 3 1/3. So it's yeah. Neither pitcher pitched well. Our bullpen pitched better. That's basically the the headline of the game is it's going to come down to these bullpens. I'm telling you, it's which bullpen can hold up, because each bullpen is going to get used a lot.
And
Now, I mean, you Darvish is pitching tomorrow, and you has not pitched fantastic in Dodger Stadium. And we only have to remember Game 7 of the 2017 World Series to know that Darvish been a big fan of pitching in Dodger Stadium, and he's been okay since he's come back from injury. Was on the injured list for so long. But I could see the Dodgers getting to Darvish too, because sometimes when Darvish gets hit, he gets hit. And we'll see if that's kind of is the one, that. So that dynamic could make it very interesting tomorrow, because I don't think you're going to get a bad start on a Flaherty. I think he'll get a decent start. I don't know if he's going to be great, but I think he'll get a decent start on Flaherty. Darvish, I'm not sure. And if it goes back to San Diego 2-0, I feel very good about where things are.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If they go up to San Diego up 2 games to nothing, I mean, at worst you're coming back home for Game 5 in that situation, which is where I think we would be very comfortable to come back home to a ballpark where we play really well. But Steve, I kind of want to get back to an article you wrote. I believe either you posted it today or yesterday, of all the national media kind of just overwhelmingly picking the Padres for a variety of reasons, some
Yeah,
valid, some not
it happened
valid.
again tonight with only poor Dontrell Willis was picking the Dodgers to.
Right?
Yeah.
That was
It's
crazy.
Thanks D
it,
Train, but everybody else was on the Padres train.
yeah, it seems like I would hope that now after this game people can see that yes, these two teams are very close. These two teams are very competitive with one another. They each have their own strengths and weaknesses, and one of the big strengths that everyone was pushing for the Padres is their starting rotation. I kind of think right now it's pretty dead even if you had to, go with that front, because now both starters today, like Mike already said, had a bad start. Tomorrow, each team is hoping to get a decent start. And then their game three starter, for the Dodgers, they know it's probably going to be Walker Buehler, and the Padres know it's going to be Michael King, who's been their best starter this year. But there's a variety of other, things that have been argued for both sides.
Right,
Tell us what you wrote in that article. Why, if nobody learned today after this game, why are the Dodgers not the underdogs in this?
well, I think people are kind of getting caught up in the moment, and they saw the Padres make that run at the Dodgers, and they saw their great second half, and they kind of forgot that hey, we won 98 games too, and we won 41 games in the second half as well. So I think there's a lot of sort of recency bias in seeing the Padres playing well. But also, I think that there's a case of people getting too hyped up about the pitching staff of the Padres and too doomsaying about the pitching staff of the Dodgers. Because I mean, if you just look at ERAs, Dylan Cease's ERA this year is like 3.5. It's not like he's been. I mean, he had that one no hitter, good for him. But a 3.5 ERA is kind of middle of the pack when you come to a starting pitcher. And you now Joe Musgrove is gone, so he's he's getting Tommy John, so he'll be gone at least a year. And so who does that leave you? That leaves you like a Landon Knack Martin Perez matchup in the fourth game. I don't mind that.
And I would say that's equal. I mean, that's equal
Yeah.
playing field. Perez, lefty, could give the Dodgers some fits, but I think that is about as even as you can get.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would give the edge to Michael King over Walker Bueller, but Darvish Flaherty, that's about even to me. I don't see the big pitching advantage that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, and then Mike, kind of going back to you, we see the Dodgers get down early. We can all start holding our heads down like, oh, here we go again, deja vu. We're back in 2023. The Dodgers are going to lose this series. The world's falling apart. Who's going to save us? I don't know. They start to chip away. They tie the game. They give up the lead right back, but then they continuously just chip away. And this is a team that's given them fits all season. How big of a win? Obviously, it's the postseason, so every win counts. But how big of a win is it the way they won today, and how can they take this going forward?
I think it's a big win for the Dodgers team and the organization and for all the fans in LA and all the fans worldwide. Now worldwide since Otani and Yamamoto are on the team. Uh, it's kind of like I've mentioned before in the podcast. That we had earlier and the one we had the other day is I believe this is a totally different team than years past, and I've mentioned that plenty of times. I don't think that this is the team that's going to be given up, and I think the key to that is Otani. I think he's in the locker room, and Roger could probably speak on this a little bit more because he's in the locker room quite a bit, you know, saying stuff to the guys, saying, "Hey, man, I want to win. I didn't come here to lose. I came here to win. And let's step our game up." You know, he doesn't seem like even though he does speak English, not that great, because I was in the locker room for spring training, and I could hear him speak English, and he's pretty decent at it. But I don't think he's going to speak up like that, and that's where Miguel Rojas comes into play. I think he's the one who's in the locker room now, trying to motivate the team. But I don't think they're the give up team like we're used to, And I think today showed that. Tonight's game definitely displayed that they're going to come out and they're going to hit and they're going to battle, and they really want to go to the World Series this year. I truly believe that. I think the whole team believes that they will make it to the World Series this year, unlike years past where it was like Steve was talking about earlier and you were talking about earlier that we're down, and they hang their heads down low, and Mookie starts talking to the players and joking around, and Freddie's doing his thing, and they just kind of give up. I don't see that this year.
Steve, we mentioned chip on their shoulder. We mentioned, how the Padres kind of came in to this series with a lot of confidence. I would say even a little too much confidence for my liking.
One might
How
say.
how big of a win is it for the Dodgers to get the first monkey off their back? Because I feel like last season they just got down way too early, way too much, way too early, and there was really I can't even remember my feelings
Yeah,
for last postseason because it just
it was
came
a,
and gone.
yeah, it was a proverbial snowball rolling downhill, right?
It happened, but I can't remember it. That's the way I put it. But you get the first win today. How important is it for this Dodgers team to it's their first postseason win since the NLDS in 2022 Game 1 that we already mentioned. That's the last time this Dodgers team won a postseason game. How big is it, and how can they keep the momentum going?
Well, I mean, you use that word that came to my mind, that phrase, monkey off the back, because that's what this game was. It was, okay, we're the Dodgers. We're not this team that dies every October. We are the team with the best record in baseball. Let's start playing like it. And I felt like, and I imagine it was palpable in the stadium as well, that this team was not going to just roll over when they got down. And that was very encouraging. That was very encouraging.
Yeah, I think there's just so much to take away from this game in terms of how they played, the resiliency. One of the things that I really liked is that they were communicating a lot in the dugout, so they must have been picking on something. Everyone likes to have the Otani memes where he's on the iPad, but he was communicating with his teammates. I saw the huddle at one point when they panned the camera to the dugout. It was, Otani, at Betts and Freeman were all there talking about something. Like I said, I think Cease was pretty predictable out there, especially if you can't command like 3/4 of your pitches and the only one that you can is a fastball, then hitters are just going to sit on that. So hopefully they keep the offensive rolling. Steve, you already mentioned that Darvish hasn't gotten off to the best start this year, but what do the Dodgers offense need to do to take it to Darvish tomorrow?
I think it's another case of being patient. Don't go chasing after those wacky Darvish pitches. That if you make him come into the strike zone, he doesn't have the velocity to keep people at bay. If you make him come into the strike zone, you don't chase pitches. I think that's where you're going to beat you, Darvish. You get into trouble with Darvish when you start thinking every pitch is a strike, which it looks like for 3/4 of the path to the plate. But you gotta be patient. That I think is the key against Darvish. Make him come into the strike zone.
Mike, the Padres are definitely going to come into tomorrow. They're going to try to even this series. How do the Dodgers prevent that from happening?
They keep playing like they're playing. They're playing with good intensity right now. They're playing with with a winning attitude and a not give up attitude. The team needs to keep hitting the way that they are. It was good to see the bottom of the lineup and the middle of the lineup hitting and putting bat on ball and and moving some runners around. It was good to see T.O. actually get that that double or that single out into center field and scoring 2 runs. And the team getting hyped up. It's the baseball thing of pass the baton on. That's what they need to do, and that's what they're actually doing right now. The bullpen is like really locked in. The starting pitching is the starting pitching. One thing that I was talking to my wife about earlier, I'm just like going, wow, look at how they're playing right now. Imagine what this team would be like if we didn't have so many injuries. If Glasnow was still here, if we had just the pitching staff that we were supposed to have. How would this team really look like? And I think from some of that adversity, it's made the team a little bit more better and a little bit more focused, and more hungry, to prove to everybody that they can do it.
Yeah, I think adversity is something that we've mentioned a lot, especially with people that we've talked to in interviews. Like, does this team have they faced more adversity with all the injuries that they've had this year? And you're right. If they had everybody healthy in a perfect world, this team, we all predicted them to win well over 100 games. We thought they were going to run away with the National League West. Things just don't work out that way. We even get a lot more more doom and gloom injury updates today. Kershaw done for the season,
Right.
Joe Kelly out for the X amount of weeks, Brewster Gratterall's, cloudiness for the rest of the season, and on and on and on. It just seems like it's never stopping. But despite all that happening, the Dodgers still win 98 games. They still win the division, and they're well on track to just winning this first round of the playoffs. And I know it's only one win, but I just feel like we saw a lot from this team that we haven't seen the past 2 years. So, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we close it out here?
I think I'm spent. I need.
I think I aged a little bit.
Yeah. That was a rough one, man.
Yeah. I will point out the one thing that we did talk about is to not do too much with the baseball. They scored 7 runs today with only 1 home run, 3-run bomb
Yep.
by Otani. Everything else was just they took their walks. They got their base hits. They took advantage of misplays by the Padres. Let's talk about Manny Machado's error. That ended up being a different run there that put them across by 2 runs instead of just a run lead. So
Gavin
those
Lux,
things add up.
God love him for he got 2 hits today, and was contributing and got on base for that Otani home run. And let's hope we get more Gavin Lux like that. That would be great.
Yeah,
And
He made that great play on that screamer from whoever hit that. I don't remember. It was Cronenworth, I think, maybe.
I would say also, the plays of Tommy Edman, just those small little things of that bunt, getting that bunt and moving that runner and getting onto first base, those are things that are going to win this NLDS. It's going to move us into the NLCS, just chipping away that way. Even though Rojas didn't get that bunt and he flied it up, at least he made the effort. Usually he's a good bunter. But getting those plays in there, just doing the small little things is going to take this team into the next level.
Yeah, and we hope that they continue the intensity tomorrow. We should be back with another pregame, postgame tomorrow in some form or fashion, depending on who's on that crew tomorrow. So be sure to subscribe, have the notifications turned on. We're gonna have a lot of the postgame interviews that Roger, I'm sure, is recording and working on posting throughout the night. So credit to him working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then on Dodgers Beat, Steve Webb got the postgame article up already on our website. I'll have more of the pregame coverage, kind of going over the matchups between the pitchers and more between the line stats, and then any other opinion pieces. I know Mike also has a lot of stuff on there as well. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure to do this with you guys today. I'm glad the Dodgers came out with a Game 1 win. Vibes are really high right now. I get to go to bed a happy Dodger fan.
I'm looking forward to going to the game tomorrow. It's going to be a good game.
Mike, have fun at that game. Yep, have fun at that game, and hopefully the Dodgers are going up 2-0 in this series as they go to Petco Park. But that'll about do it for this episode of the Bleed Los podcast. We will see you on the next one. Before we cut out, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Have a good one, guys.
Take care,
Have a good night.